it turns the BlueCruise off. It's not blue anymore. Well, we've waited a long time for this week's review. This is the Mustang Mach-E GT Performance. But before we hop in and tell you all about it, I have a question for you. What color does this look like to you? Yellow? Orange? Well, Ford calls this cyber orange. I don't know. I think it looks more yellow to me. But anyways, leave a comment below. Let's get started. Woo-hoo, this thing has a lot of get up and go, but before we talk about that, let's talk about how does this look? How does this differ from the regular Mustang Mach-E? Well, it looks, of course, similar. This cyber orange is an additional $800 if you do choose to get it. If you want to stand out, this is the way to go, though. It's pretty striking. It attracts a lot of attention, this color. In the front, you'll see you do get a Mustang grille. You get the pony emblem. However, the grille is solid. It has a carbon fiber type look to it. I do like it. It does differentiate this between the non-GT versions. Below that, you have active grille shutters. You have LED lighting front and back. We're riding on 20-inch alloy wheels, 245/45 series summer performance tires. No all seasons here. Hey, that's nothing wrong with that. Guess what? Wintertime, put on some proper winter tires. You have an all-round driver since this is all-wheel drive. So a big bonus there. In behind those big rims, you have 15-inch rotors on this particular performance trim with 4-piston Brembo calipers on there. The rear is the same size as the regular Mach-E. Since this has the electronic latch, and we reviewed this before, those rear doors only have a kind of a hidden button. It has a very clean look because of that, and it looks kind of like a coupe. It really does. I was concerned. I wasn't sure how well these doors would work with kids, but my kids have had no issue with them at all. So, hey, I guess they knew what they were doing, I guess. Heading into the back, you have sequential LED signal lights. I really like that. It has a little nostalgic feel to it. And you do get a standard power hands-free liftgate on this GT here. So just kick if you want, or there is a lever. With the rear seats up, you get 822 liters of cargo space, and with them folded down, you get a total of 1,690 liters of space. So if you want to compare that, for instance, with the Ioniq 5, it's very similar. This has more room behind the second row or behind their back seats, but if you fold all the seats down, the Ioniq actually has a little bit more space in total, but more room behind me right here. I do notice, so this does come with a cargo cover. I think it's a little bit on the flimsy side. It's actually fallen down a couple times. If you have taller items that are sticking up and you close that, it actually hits the cargo cover and takes it off of its little track that it's got there. But otherwise, very, very usable. Lots of room back there. On the inside, you have some aluminum trim on the GT. You get different style seats for this vehicle. So it has kind of like that full leather plus the ultra suede. I like how they have these shoulder bolsters. It feels really good. It's not too tight, but it just feels like it just holds you in a little bit better. And the molded headrest, it's pretty comfortable and easy to get into a good position driving this. And kind of like the Teslas, this has a large vertical screen, 15.5 inch to be exact. You have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. That's one thing that Tesla does not have. And it's quite easy to use, and you have a volume knob as well. In front of me, I have a 10.2 inch cluster, and I really like it. It's really quick just to see your speed, but especially your cruise control information. This also has a large panel roof, as you can see. However, it does not open, and there is no shade that goes over it, but it is quite tinted. Storage room, lots of storage on this Mach-E. Glove box. Underneath, you have kind of a bridge console. Door pockets are a decent size, but the middle console here, you have lifted up and you have concealed storage there as well. had the kids in here quite a few times over the week, and they've had no issue in the back at all. And I have not driven the Model Y, but I have ridden in the Model Y, actually in the back especially, and I do find that I think this Mach-E has a little bit more room for the rear passengers than that Model Y. I'm going to share something pretty cool with you. We're on the highway right now. I'm going to hit my cruise control button. All right, and it's going to tell me BlueCruise is on. Watch the road. Be prepared to resume control. So this has the Ford Copilot 360, just like all Mach-E's, except this has the optional upgraded Active 2.0. So it's a $2,550 option, and so it enhances your adaptive cruise to be completely hands-free. You also get a 360 camera with that, so you get some other goodies, but the cool thing is this adaptive cruise, and it's showing hands-free, and the entire screen is blue right now, so you really have no doubt that you're in BlueCruise. It's monitoring the car in front of me, it's going to brake, it's going to steer for me, and now this is only going to work for totally hands-free on specific mapped out divided roads that Ford has mapped out. They've got millions of miles mapped out, and highway number 1 here in British Columbia is one of those. So I'm just totally hands-free. Sure, a lot of other vehicles can do that, but you'd still have to give it a nudge once in a while, and that includes Tesla's autopilot, not their full self-driving, but their autopilot. This one is very similar to what you'd find for the Cadillac or the GM Super Cruise system. So you can just basically sit back, but not relax too much, because you'll see the little flickering there from the GoPro is going to catch. There is sensors, there's infrared sensors, and they're scanning my face. So if I'm not paying attention, it's going to tell me, hey, put your hands back on the wheel. It's going to disengage. It will also disengage if it gets into certain areas, construction areas, for instance. One thing it does not do, though, is that it will not do lane changes for you. So if I turn my signal on, I have to actually physically do the lane change. It turns the BlueCruise off. It's not blue anymore. But as soon as I'm back into my lane here and I let go, it's back on again. So it's a very temporary thing. That's cool. I can handle changing lanes by myself. I have used the system quite a bit over the week, and I've got to say, it's pretty solid. It is very, very solid. It knows when you're not paying attention. If I block the sensor with my hand right now, it'll tell me, put your hands back on the wheel, and it will disengage. And it's not bouncing around. It's very, very proactive. It's a very good system. I would recommend it for $2,500, especially if your commute involves highway driving, for sure. It's just so relaxing when you get to where you're going. It just seems like there's so little stress, and you don't feel like you're rushing. As soon as I turn it off, I really want to drive faster. When I'm in BlueCruise, I just sit back and just relax, watch the traffic, and listen to some music. That's it. Let's talk about the drive of this Performance GT. All right, so this has over 130 more horsepower than the standard long range or extended range all-wheel drive Mustang Mach-E. So 480 horsepower and 634 pound-feet of torque. That's right, over 600 pound-feet of torque. That goes to both front and back, so all-wheel drive on this. This will make a run to 60 miles an hour in just 3.5 seconds. So we are stopped right now. We are in unbridled mode. Let's just see. Ooh. Oh, and there we go. I'm not sure if you can hear the sound, but I have the propulsion sound on, and I gotta say, Ford has always done a great job of tuning their exhaust systems, and even though this is electric, they did a great job. There's been other vehicles that have added sounds to their EVs, and they're just a little too futuristic. This has some grumble, it has some meat to it. It sounds good. I actually like it. I like it on. Sometimes on other vehicles I just turn it off. So anyways, lots of torque. We have unbridled mode. But we have engage, which is kind of like in the middle, and we have whisper mode. And this one also has what's called unbridled extend. So they say it's for track use only, because that will actually go and provide additional cooling, and it opens up more of the parameters for the traction control and the stability control. So we're not going to use that right now. We're in unbridled. So we've got a few twisties here. Feeling good. So the performance comes standard with the MagneRide, so the adaptive suspension, and it just adapts to your style of driving. If it needs to be a little bit stiffer, it's going to do it. Now, this is not a light vehicle. Most EVs are very heavy, but they do have a nice low center of gravity, but there's a lot of weight to it. So body roll is very, very minimal with this suspension for sure. It is planted. It is just sticking itself even on a couple of the bumps within the corners. Range-wise, it's 418 kilometers. Of course, that's going to depend how you drive. If you're driving like a hooligan, of course, it's going to be lower, or if you have a lot of hills. You do have one pedal driving for an option. And one thing is, if you are in unbridled mode, like we're in right now, if I let off, there is some regen or electronic braking happening, and if I go into engage, that disappears. If I let off, I'm just coasting. And so the unbridled, it basically emulates like a little bit of engine braking, which is actually quite nice. It's not really aggressive, but you just hear it sounds like you're kind of like driving a V8 a little bit. It's quite satisfying. It's fun to drive. There's no doubt this is fun to drive. Charge-wise, it'll charge up to 150 kilowatts, but what's really cool is it includes a charger. When you buy this vehicle, you get a charger, and it has both a 110 and a 240 pigtail at the end. So I have a 240 in my garage. Just plug it right in. You don't need an additional charger, and that's a beautiful thing. You have a built-in level 2 charger. Now, I've been asked by quite a few people, which one would you take? The Mach-E GT Performance or the Tesla Model Y Performance? And that is a really good question, because they're really very, very close. They're similar in size. They both have a frunk. The Model Y does have a larger frunk, but it's a decent sized frunk this thing actually has. You get all-wheel drive. Their 0 to 60 times are identical, 3.5 seconds. The Tesla does have a little bit more range though. However, it's all going to depend on what the real world range is, opposed to just the number. Like I said, this one about 350 in real world of the type of driving I'm doing. But yeah, so really, really close. Personally, I would probably lean toward the Mustang because I like the style better. I'm not a big fan of the Tesla's style, especially the interior. It's just a little bit too plain for me. Is this interior perfect? No, it's not. But I do like having the instrument cluster there. Just even though it's that 10-inch screen, I like having that so I don't have to actually look down. I like having a volume knob. And yeah, I think style-wise, I think it's just, it wins for me. And I love the suspension. This MagneRide works great on this particular vehicle. There is one caveat though, is I've read a lot of forums and watched a couple of videos, and apparently what I've heard is that Ford has actually put a limit on the maximum power you can use on this. Not that you're not going to get 480 horsepower, it's that you can only use it for about 5 seconds of full power until it actually ramps it down a little bit. And it's not like you're just going to be full power and then you're like, ugh. No, it brings it down so you're not at 100% boost, let's just say. And that's to actually save the battery, and not for the range, but the longevity of the battery, to keep it healthier for a longer period of time. I totally get it. And so for most people, 99.8% of the buyers out there, that's going to be fine, because you know it's not going to cut off until you're like well over 80 miles per hour or 100 and 140, 150 kilometers an hour, where it's going to ramp itself down a little bit. I have not witnessed it because we're not on a track, unfortunately, and there's no issue for me. But that's why I say, for most people, not an issue. However, if you are one of these people that do like to take your EV out to the track once in a while, that may be an issue for you. But for everyday driving, you got to realize this is a very, very capable, sporty SUV, electrified, with a blinding fast acceleration. It is not a sports car. It's going to be plenty for even the above average person. So what's it going to cost you to get into this particular performance trim? As tested, as we see here, this one is 90,000 Canadian dollars. And once again, that's right in line, almost dollar for dollar the same as what the Model Y is. But on this one, you are getting the BlueCruise. On the Tesla, that's not with a full self-drive. That's another $10,000 or $12,000 on there. So really, really good comparison. I wish I could have had both of them side by side to test, but maybe another time. Anyways, hope you enjoyed our look at the new Mustang Mach-E GT performance. It really is a rocket. And if you're in the market for an SUV style EV with blinding acceleration, this will definitely do the job for you. Take care.